Board meeting in Gun Barrel City Council Chambers, located at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas 75156, on Tuesday, July 9th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Father Damiano, the invocation, please.
Lord, we gather here to do the business of the city of Gun Barrel City on and for the citizens of this city. Please give us the wisdom and intelligence to do the right things. As an aside, we ask that you to keep a special eye on our first responders and our military, both overseas and domestically. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call from my left, please.
Osborne, yes.
Butler here.
Taylor here.
Damiano here.
Gaddis here.
Lawrence here.
We have a quorum. Citizens' presentations limited to 3 minutes. This item provides the opportunity for citizens to address the EDC Board of Directors on any matter, whether or not it's posted on the agenda. However, in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.041, the EDC Board of Directors cannot discuss, deliberate, or take action on matters not listed on the agenda. At this time, the Board will receive citizen comments and, if necessary, may refer the matter to EDC staff for research, resolution, or referral to the EDC Board on a future agenda. Do we have any citizen presentations, Walter?
Yes, we have one. Council Member Richard Yaws.
Mr. Yaws. Councilman Yaws.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback regarding the recent trip down to Cameron. Just thought, walking into the situation, new to the council, new to the process, and my first thoughts when we were going down there was we're going to go down there and get a lot of really good ideas and come back and do a bunch of new things that we've never thought of. Interestingly enough, and again, part of this is feedback to your group as well, is come to find out we're actually doing some things they've never even thought of, or we're doing a lot better job with some things than they're doing, and I think they did as much harvesting, if you will, from us as we probably did from them. So just an overall takeaway, very good visit, a lot of good takeaways, and also a little bit of a spirit lift that we're actually doing a lot of things right. And again, feedback to you guys, great job, and appreciate all that y'all do, and definitely we're moving in the right direction, just want to do more of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you go for a helicopter ride Friday morning?
I did.
That was you. God, I didn't think it was you. You made it. Good job. Wonderful. Item number 1, discuss and or take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve the EDC meeting minutes of June 11, 2019.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 11, 2019.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Voting to approve from my left, please.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes. Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 2, discuss or take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve the June 2019 GBC month-end financial report. Motion, please.
I move that we approve and recommend the City Council approve the June 19th, 2019 GBC EDC month and financial report.
Second.
Discussion, if you would go to the balance sheet, please, under assets. Note that we dropped from $1,400,000 in current assets. Total, we dropped from $1,475,000 down to $1,402,000. That is primarily the result of a payment of $100,000, the first of 5 installments to Elder Dodge, who are doing phenomenally well, by the way. And that's about $73,000. The difference there is the net income for the month. Other than that, on the asset side, we have no changes of any significance. We continue to have total checking and savings of $1,328,000. Remember, $606,000 of that is sitting in Techstar, currently paying about 2.3%, I think, and that may drop if the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates. On the liability side, no significant changes. Going to the income statement, the sales tax revenue from, this is actually from 2 months prior, from April, was $45,870 on the year, $363,000. I think that's up about 2.8%, just slightly above inflation. So we don't have any real gain there that we can talk about. You see down in line item 12507, cooperative incentives, $100,000. That's the payment to Elder Dodge. Under organization and marketing, 12622 is the line item promotional marketing. $7,000 is to Sugar Rock for the website development or redevelopment. And other than that, we don't have anything really significant here. I asked Walter to put together a list of unfunded commitments so we know what we've committed to and are going to have to spend coming up. Walter, can you comment on that?
I took another look. I believe you specifically emphasized facade grants. We don't have any that we're awaiting payment to. In that sense, I believe we're fairly well caught up. It's just going to be what's moving forward. Now, there was the approval with Project Bismarck. That's about the only thing that would be coming up in the future that's already been approved, unless I'm forgetting something.
We have 4 facade grants for W House that have been approved and not paid.
They haven't been paid?
No.
And those are $5,000 each? Yes, sir. And then what about the auto parts store? We haven't paid that
We
yet.
have not paid that yet. So Gunbarrel City Auto is another one.
That's
Is the one of the facade grants, didn't we do two $20,000 ones? Or was that for the interior? 4 or 5,000?
4 or 5.
Okay.
And the one for Gunbarrel City Auto Parts, if I remember correctly, you may have to look at it, is $5,000. So that's $25,000 facade grants that we have not paid.
where are we on Slap and Good Barbecue? That's $25,000.
Slap and Good Barbecue is, for those of you who don't know, Manny Cross had a little brush with cancer.
Yeah.
The doctor had an operation, is now cancer-free.
Yay.
So we are visiting with them about the whole thing getting started up. And what we're waiting for is the LLC paperwork so we can actually fund the project.
Yeah.
And the lease.
What about Project Reflection? Not going to happen? Okay. Anything else that's coming up that we know of already committed?
Just what you see tonight as far as I know, Walter.
Okay, so what we have basically done this year that's new is $22,000 worth of facade grants. The other was Elder Dodge and matching improvements. And we've spent about $200,000 in overhead to do that. So we're not dollar for dollar knocking them dead here.
When did we pay $25,000 to W House, Jim? Redevelopment grants.
That was 50. There were 225s.
225.
We paid those this year. We paid them this year. They were approved last fiscal year. Okay, any other discussion?
How many total incentive payments are there to Elder?
500,000, 100 a year for 5 years.
And is this the one in June, the first one?
Yes.
And then the next quarter will be the next?
No, annual.
Okay, so it's
Next June will be the next
June
one.
or 19, okay.
Yeah.
I would also like to report, one of the things we do is we do job numbers. Elder Dodge had committed to 15 jobs. If I remember correctly, they had 27 when I did the follow-up with them. So they've way exceeded their jobs, almost doubled the jobs that they were required to have.
The other criteria was the money spent on the building, and
The other criteria was they had to spend at least $3 million on the building, real estate, and equipment, and they surpassed that by about almost $1 million.
total expenditures to date, $368,000. 150 of that was other projects, and 22 in facade improvements. Any other discussion? Voting to approve from my left, please.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes. Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 3, discuss or take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve the EDC partnering with the City of Gun Barrel to purchase Granicus Peak's agenda software for $1,650 annually. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we discuss or take action to approve and recommend that the City Council approve the EDC partnering with the City of Gun Barrel to purchase the Granicus Peak agenda software for $1,650 annually.
Second.
Discussion. Janet, are you going to update us a bit? Please.
On a software that I have presented to the City Council and wanted to present to you as well in hopes that you guys would see the benefit of the software and would team up with the city in the cost to put this in place. I've created a little PowerPoint with some information for you guys. Can you put that in slideshow mode? So the software is called Peak Agenda Management. It's an agenda management software that will transform the way that our agendas are put together, accessed, and shared. It's at the top, the third tab from the right. There you go. And then from the beginning. There you go. So it's a one-stop shop in that in creating, modifying, and publishing agendas and packets. Some of the key benefits are increased efficiency in communicating with stakeholders, those being board members, city manager, mayor, staff, et cetera. And also creating and managing multiple agendas, documents associated with those agendas, and also distributing and publishing those. So currently, the operation of agenda creation and communication on both the city side and the EDC, I know, is horrendous at times. Last-minute changes, additions, leaves staff running rapid to finalize agendas and make sure that we're publishing and posting at the required times that we have to do it. For the City Council, our regular meetings are on Tuesday, such as you guys, and our agenda packets are ready Thursday, if not Friday, sometimes. So that leaves our City Council and sometimes you guys the weekend, your free weekend, to go through material. Sometimes it's not enough time. Council members sometimes don't pick them up until Monday or even the day of, so we know that they're not viewing all the information that we have worked so hard to put together. So Granicus allows agenda packets to be paperless and instead uploaded to a web portal accessible by members of boards instantly. So when it's ready on our side, it's ready for you guys to view as well. It allows transparency to the public as well, which is something that we struggle with, I feel like. So right now, currently, we provide agendas online, but we don't provide the documents that are included in the agendas that oftentimes we get requests, open records requests, and we're having to spend our time on information that's already public, so why not just supply that information as well? There you go. So this is a snip that I took from the City of the Colony that utilizes Granicus. As you can see, their information is all in one section of their website. It includes their agenda, the packet, their minutes, and their video. If you've ever visited our site, and I'm not even sure what the EDC is doing at this point on their website, you have to go to multiple tabs, scroll all the way to the bottom to find what you're looking for in 4 different tabs for videos, minutes, agendas, and there's no packets included. So it's not very user-friendly, so this would essentially provide our community with a one-stop shop in getting any information that they wanted. Each member of any board will have access to their very own dashboard that includes calendars showing their scheduled meeting dates, agenda items, documents, and such. Many of our dedicated volunteers are members of multiple boards, and so this will allow them the ease of keeping up with all of their meetings, all of their agendas in one dashboard, in a simple workflow portal. One great feature is their communication tool. So you have questions or concerns about items or want to discuss an item, you'll be able to see the agenda as it's being created and communicate back and forth with staff. Quick and simple collaboration versus coming into the office, which we love to see you guys day in and day out, but this would allow for maybe better communication. So in conclusion, I believe Granicus will bring Gun Barrel into the modern era. The benefits of this automation software more than enough to justify its costs for staff, board members, and citizens. And I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
How many people actually request the packet?
They don't necessarily ask for the packet, but they ask for resolutions, ordinances, I mean, really anything you could think of. Every week, we're getting requests.
Janet, you said something about the packet is also online. Am I correct?
So this software would allow us to put online whatever we chose to provide to the public.
That's okay.
So obviously there is information that executive information that wouldn't be public, you know, but it would allow us to put on the website what we choose to provide the public. Financials, minutes, I mean, simple things like that.
Okay.
And resolutions.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking that, it sounds like we could pull our packets off this or view the packets on this website.
Yeah, so your access as a board member would be different than the public's access.
Okay.
Yeah. You would essentially log into your portal. You'd be able to see all your meeting dates. You could click on an item that would have pertaining documentation, whether it be, you know, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
One other question is, I'm trying to understand, are we splitting the cost of the system with the city?
So that's the hope. So the total cost is $3,300 annually.
Okay.
And I was hoping the EDC would go in on it, as it would be an asset to you guys too, and a benefit to Walter, to you guys. You know.
But basically, then it's one system, one license, multiple users.
Exactly. There's as many users as we would want able to access it.
Okay, this is a curiosity question. Does the EDC have? No, we just have access to our own information. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice job.
Have y'all gone to the Chamber of Commerce, the Cedar Creek Chamber of Commerce, to see if they would split it even more?
We have not.
Would that be a possibility? Could they, would it be beneficial for them to be in on it as well?
I'm not sure that we've ever teamed up with the chamber on something like this before, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a possibility that they would want to explore.
Well, the reason I ask is there's a lot of things that we can do as the Cedar Creek community that would benefit Gun Barrel if we could team up with them as well on something like this.
Yeah, I agree.
Is the real benefit to this time savings or information flow?
For staff, we would probably answer time. But I think, too, the community expresses on a weekly basis the need to see more, to hear more, and I think this would allow them that.
Have we ever had anyone inquire for the EDC's packet before a meeting? that we know of?
No, they'll look for, whatever happens on the minutes on the internet.
Any idea how many views we get on our minutes or videos per month? Is there a tracker on it? Walter, do you know?
We don't have a formal tracking system, but I will say on times where I have gotten the video up as soon as usual, I have received calls, surprisingly, but they do that.
Same. So we know people are watching them and getting on there.
So we should be well behaved.
We should be.
That was your concern.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, one last question. My early understanding of this system is that there was an archiving or a crossover, a search feature on this, that if you talked about, say, a project in one meeting, it would bring up all the meetings that you talked about that project. Is that correct, or that subject?
That is correct. And I have just realized that we already have that feature on the city side that I was unaware of. So you could go to our American Legal Publishing website, type in Project X, and all the minutes where that was discussed or typed in would come up. So we already have that feature, but this software does offer that as well.
Okay, so we don't have it on our side?
I'm not sure.
Not sure, okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
And you're stating that the packet, I mean, you could have different packet permissions, but could you also have different archive permissions?
Like what specific?
Critical.
What specific?
I mean, if a board member wants to research Project X, could he do so and get all the non-public data, and could we ensure that the public was not able to get that same data in the archive facility?
Yeah, so the archive would allow such and such board member or staff member or whoever has access to that to do a search, to tap in the search, and it would come up, yes.
Get the confidential data that the public was not able
Mm-hmm.
to? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. One last one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm almost sure. If we use, just supposing we use the system, on your side or our side, we use it for a year, we decide we don't like it, and we stop. What happens to our data?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer that. I know our data we would do other means of keeping that data. It's not like it would just go away if we stop paying on the software. We keep different archives that will stay here regardless. So there's no, we won't lose anything if that's what you're asking.
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking, because
Yeah.
when we do a packet, it's all in one place. And if we stop using that system, is there an ability to transfer all that information? And I'm sorry, you don't know probably.
I would think that there would be, and I know for myself, I'm going to save that the way I save these regardless, and print it, and probably do a printout just because that's what we do.
It might not be a seamless import, but as long as it's not a proprietary software, you could capture that data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I would think. But I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I don't know, yeah.
Okay.
I have one comment. I'm just looking at what we've done year to date in organization, marketing costs, promotional marketing, and advertising. We've spent $12,800. In sponsorships and business retention efforts, $10,700. Professional services, $18,500. That includes $11,000 legal. Personnel costs, $126,000. Office expenses, $9,500. And I will admit that a good portion of that is probably toner ink. Professional development, travel, meals, $8,400. Utilities and facilities, $13,000. And I am just opposed to adding more overhead. For all that we've spent, we've got $22,000 worth of facade improvement grants this year. which have not generated a new dollar of sales tax or one job. And I just, in good conscience, cannot feel like putting more overhead on the books myself, but I ask you to vote your conscience on it if you think it'll help. Any other discussion?
I would like to see y'all go to the city, to go to the Chamber of Commerce and see if they would also go in on the expense. I think that would alleviate some of the concern.
I think my general feeling is I'd almost like to see how you guys do with it before we do anything with it.
Any other comments? Voting from my left.
Osborne, no.
Butler, no.
Taylor, no.
Damiano, no.
Gaddis, no.
Motion fails. Or Mr. Lawrence?
Lawrence, no.
Motion fails. Item number 4, discussion or take action to approve and recommend City Council approve EDC budget for 2020 fiscal year. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve and recommend the City Council approve EDC budget for 2020 fiscal year.
I'll second.
Discussion. We have changes, came from Mr. Peterson, add a job training line item for approximately $20,000. Does that relate to the service academy kind of thing we were talking about?
I don't believe it's related actually directly to anything. There's just been a variety of discussion from a variety of people about beginning to initiate some job training. And so it's my belief that in the next year we will need some money in order to do that. $20,000 is probably more than we need in the end, but I think that would at least give us the opportunity to get started on the customer service training academy or whatever other things that we may feel we need training for.
I think it's a good idea myself. Any other discussion there?
No, just the fact that we're spending a lot of money.
Well, the idea on the service academy was the complaints we get from people about service in restaurants, drive-through cashiers and that kind of thing, and having a little 8-hour, 12-hour academy that we would pay for Gun Barrel residents. And I've tasked a young lady, the events planner, I can't think of her name, to come up with a curriculum for it to train people. And if we could get merchants to say, we're not going to hire you unless you've been to this service academy, it could get done.
I also believe there are a lot of partners out there that will help us, but we do need to have some money in the box to be the first people to jump out there and do something.
One of the other things on that, and I totally agree with the training piece of it, or the job training. I think we need a discussion about one of the ways we can get businesses to grow, and one of the ways we can attract better businesses is to have a better labor pool. Because right now we've got a very shallow labor pool.
And this would build a better labor pool.
This would build it. I buy that. And
The difficulty is what do you build for? And I agree with Mr. Taylor that the beginning of this needs to be customer service, and that's where we need to focus and go. I have done this I don't know how many times. You start out with 30 people, you go down to 20 people, you go down to 10 people, and you start the class and you get 5. And I will guarantee you that's the way it goes. It will be better if there is a job at the other end. And what Mr. Taylor says is absolutely correct. We can get some people to say, we're not going to hire, if we get Lowe's to say, we're not going to hire you unless you have this customer service training, we will have a winner.
But
We do need some money. Gary, I don't know what it is, but
say that again?
I say we do need some money in the budget under that line item if we're going to do training in 2000.
Oh, I got to tell you, I get that. I agree with the training. And the only question I have is, you said you start out with 30 that want it, and it gets down to 20 by the time. Is that because it's free to the individual?
We've done it every way. The idea is very exciting for people, but as you begin to whittle down to get with TVCC or Navarro College or whoever it is, put the program together and go through it all, people just continue to fail. And it's happening every time, whether they pay for it, we pay for
You know, and we are not going to run it. God knows Mrs. Butler could probably whip them into shape in quick fashion here, but we're not going to run it. We would merely be a funding mechanism to some extent. If we set it at 20,000, we see how it goes. If it takes more, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing the 20,000. Believe me, I know there's training out here to be done in this workforce. There is. I think it's worth the discussion at a workshop at some point in time as to what else we could do on this, because there's jobs going begging because we don't have the trained people to do it, whether it's welding, jet ski mechanics, marine mechanics, and so forth. I mean, you take your boat in someplace, you can't get it out of there within 2 weeks or whatever. There's a bunch out there, and then that's one of the way we're going to grow this city, is by getting a better labor force. So I totally agree with it.
Okay.
My initial recollection is that the discussion was that this would be at no cost to Gun Barrel City businesses, but it would be offered at cost to area businesses.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The second item that we had recommended was increase professional consultants line item to 15,000 to allow for a possible strategic plan after the city has complemented theirs. Any discussion on that?
Yeah. Could you? Are we participating in their strategic plan?
We financially, no.
How about personally?
I don't know the answer to that question.
You should be.
I don't know the answer to that question. But what I do want to do is make sure that we have a little bit of money so we can focus this down to the EDC level if it's not there when they finish.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that? Last item was in line 12,600. The total there, total organizational marketing expense is 71,500. It should be 76,500. Typo. I thought that was a formula. It's not. Any other discussion on the budget? I think we should alter our motion to reflect the addition of job training and increase in professional consultants. Would somebody make a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion as stated.
Second?
I'll second.
Voting from my left.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddish, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, discuss and take action to increase EDC interest rate for future loans. Do we have a motion?
Move that we discuss and/or take action to increase the EDC interest rate for future loans.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I think that we should look at this and have a variable interest rate starting at 2% up to maybe 4%, depending on how many jobs are going to be created and what the sales tax is, because, you know, this is a blanket deal. What we've got now, we give anybody that can smoke a mirror, we're going to give them 2% for 10 years, and there's some companies that don't deserve that kind of a rate because they're not going to generate what it is that we're looking for, is jobs and sales tax.
Well,
I agree with
what's driving the question? I'm not sure who that question is to be honest with you.
Nowhere else can you get a 2% loan.
But
Nowhere else can anyone get a 2% loan.
I get that, yeah.
We're leaving money on the table.
We're leaving, okay.
I mean, that's my understanding. Lee, you want to comment on that, or? I said my understanding of the interest in raising the interest rate is that basically we're leaving money on the table. Nowhere else can anybody get a 2% loan.
That's very correct as far as I know, even when they're paying 0.5% on your savings. I don't know what you are in your head, savings account, their loans are still 5%. So I believe there should be some difference. I don't know if we can come up with a template that says you're going to create 50 jobs, you get 2%, or I don't know how you can do that for sure. But we certainly could look at any plan you want to put together as long as you make some very specific parameters. If the money we're going to provide this company comes back to the city in 2 years, then they get a 2% interest loan and they have 20 jobs. If it's going to take 10 years to get the money back, the percentage is 4.5%, and they're not going to create any jobs. So we can put that together if that's what you'd like to do.
Is risk a factor? Is risk a factor?
But we're on opposite ends of the risk. Risk is always a factor. Good loans, bad loans, in between loans, there's always a risk factor. And when you go to the bank, they charge you for risk. We have not done that here because we operate with public money, and we take more risk than other people do. So that's a question that you all need to answer. If they have a higher risk, does the interest rate go up? What you're doing is you're creating an oxymoron if you're doing that, because you know these people are barely going to be able to make it the way it is. If you make it more difficult for them, you probably better not do the loan.
You know, a good loan officer will tell you you cannot price for risk, because if you put 100% interest rate on it, you're going to recover your loan in time, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's only at 100%. You can't get 100%. It's against the law. In your travels with the conferences, other EDC people, have you heard what other communities are doing on EDC loans for interest rates?
Almost everyone at the EDC level that makes loans, they are a very low interest loan in order to track out the customer. Generally, people who can go to a bank and get a loan and do it on their own, they're going to do that because our process is very long and very time consuming. So most of the and there are not a lot of loans going around out there. There's, FHA or USDA Rural Development has loans. I think there are loans that price about 4%. Mike would know better than I do.
You're certainly very competitive. You could raise the interest rate a little amount. That would be a factor. I think there's other benefits. I'm not sure about your loans, but frequently with these kinds of loans, they permit the borrower, or they allow the borrower to subordinate this loan to the bank's main loan, so that you might say that the lender has, the bank lender has a little larger amount of collateral and gets paid out.
And then they are playing base interest rates, which, ours is 2 and theirs is 5. So, for those of you that don't know, that's Michael Ellsbury from the Small Business Development Center, who's one of our constant partners in the Gunboro City Government things together. On banking public with all these.
I would recommend here that what we do is have a committee of 2 or 3 put together a plan on what we want to do with this. Would you like to volunteer to chair that committee, Mr. Osborne?
I wouldn't mind.
And next meeting, we can go over it, see what we can do with it?
Yeah.
Anyone like to work with them on that?
Be happy to.
There's number 2. Do we have a third? Can't go to 4, or it'll be a quorum. We have a committee of 2. So be it. And we'll table this, item number 5. Executive closed session of the Board of Directors of the Gun Barrel City EDC will now hold a closed executive session meeting pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Texas Government Code 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development.
Do we not have a replacement for this person?
Oh, we do.
Do we not have a replacement yet?
Reconvene into open session. The Gun Barrel City EDC will now reconvene into regular session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code to take any action necessary regarding the items discussed in executive session. Item number 6, discuss and or take action to approve Tuscany as a project as discussed in executive session. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve Tuscany as a project for the EDC.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Voting for approval from my left.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 7, discuss and or take action to approve letter to company as discussed in executive session. A motion, please.
I'll motion to take action to approve the letter to company as discussed in executive session.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Voting from my left.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 8, open public hearing. In accordance with Texas Local Government Code 505.159, a public hearing will be held by the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation, a Type B corporation, on Tuesday, July 9, 2019 at 5 p.m. in the Gun Barrel City Chambers, located at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas 75156. This is for a grant of $50,000. Are there any public comments? Open hearing is closed. Item number 9, discuss and or take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve a Boots to Business grant to Golden Chick franchisee in the amount of $50,000.
I move that we approve and recommend City Council approve a Boots to Business grant to Golden Chicken franchise in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
Second, discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Peterson, have we made this a project?
Me?
Have we made this a project?
We have not made a project yet. It doesn't need to be made a project. It's all done.
Say that again?
It's all done.
What's all done? Oh,
It comes to you one time because everything's finished at one time. We've been working on this for a year. I want to introduce Mr. Terry Bell, who is the franchisee, and I would like to introduce Michael Ellsbury, who would like to visit with you before he runs off and goes home.
Well, I don't want to take your time. I'm here in support of Mr. Bell. This is a remarkable project for us. We don't get projects as good as this very often. It's rare that somebody has invested enough equity to own the land of a project. This is approved at a bank so far, and it will be approved at the SBA as a 504 loan. They are competent managers, executives. I feel like this is going to be a good success, and he's already planning other locations in the future. His son-in-law will be essentially the general manager or manager of this operation. He has many years in the chicken business, so I'm strongly in support of it. The $50,000 is appreciated and looks good in the total project. So that was a partial influence. We thought we would get approval of that. It's a partial influence, I'm sure, on the bank and the SBA for this approval. I don't want to take any more of your time, but I thank you for the opportunity.
What was the purchase price on the land and how was it financed?
Was $200,000, and it was my own money.
Cash?
Cash.
Cash. You are invested to the extent that we can match. Thank you.
Yes.
Discussion, questions? Did everyone get a chance to look at the pro forma numbers on it? Yes. We're looking at $1.3 million the first year, which I think is aggressive, but I am a real fan of roasted chicken, so I may be a little biased.
This company will pay $26,000 a year if it meets its projections in sales tax receipts. We are going to have 6 full-time people and 12 part-time. That is a change that we made yesterday. Terry had 14. I asked him about that because later in the program we have a change to jobs, and I just want to try to keep those job numbers accurate. So we've dropped down to 12.
okay. The jobs, are they primary minimum wage jobs?
The management jobs will be well over minimum wage. The cook jobs, there's probably only 1 or 2 positions of minimum wage. Everything else is hovering around 9.
Hovering around what?
Or hovering around $9 to $10 an hour.
$9 to $10 an hour. That's what I was looking for. Okay. How did you get in touch with the EDC?
Well, from the time that I moved to this area in 2006 and opened up a Western wear store that didn't go anywhere, I knew that the EDC over here existed. So when that one failed, I knew the first place I was going to go when I was ready to get back into business was this EDC.
Okay.
When do you expect us to fund our 50,000?
Yesterday? No. When the SBA, what I'm told by my consultant company is that the SBA should be approving by the end of next week.
Okay. You have made an investment in the property. If we advanced 50,000 to you today, we would not have a Golden Chick restaurant in place. I think we are probably going to want to advance our 50,000 once you have drawn into the SBA loan. Construction is underway, and we just have to determine at what point we're comfortable with that. No. We would want to see a restaurant well under construction, I think. Would the board agree with that?
He owns the real estate already.
You're taking a vote.
Well, we don't want to invest in real estate.
Our rules say he invests 2, we invest 1. He's already doubled that investment.
And all it is land. We don't fund investments in land. It's not a business.
Yeah, the only other question I have, Lee, is I understand why it's a grant in light of its boots to business. I understand that it's a grant in light that it's boots to business. Why would there be a loan? That's 50 grand that maybe we could do something else with.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. We have a Boots to Business program.
We do.
We use that program when it makes sense. This is the most perfect project board I've ever seen. And if we don't like that program, let's kill it. But while we have it, we're going to put it in place where it really works well.
Okay. I'm a veteran, Lee.
I know. You put together the program.
I put together the program. We made some mistakes when we put it together.
But I am hearing lots of, we don't like this, so if we don't.
We made some mistakes when we put it together, and we've run across a couple of those and corrected them.
Yep.
The original intent of the program was boots to business. In other words, people just coming out of the service and getting into business. That was the original intent. I'm not saying anything is wrong with the fact that that intent got lost. It got lost a long time ago. Okay.
The difficulty with that is most people coming out of the Army can't make the match to match the business.
They can't what?
They can't make that match. They don't have 100,000 cash in their pocket. What I'm trying to do.
I think we also need to think about the sacrifice that he has made in the past and his family has made in serving the country. And I personally, having 2 boys in the Air Force, feel that our past and present servicemen and first responders deserve at least a chance at some point. And personally, I think even though he's been in business before, whatever, he's got the gentleman back here who has experience and has confidence in him. I personally think that this is something that, as a gratitude of government of him serving, it would be appropriate, in my opinion.
I think we've done 4. This will be 5, and one of those 4 is absolutely done. The rest of them are all still working.
Well, I like the deal. I agree with Jim. I don't think we should write the check until we see a start on the property, the actual digging and pouring concrete. But, I mean, he's shown me and what I've heard and what he's got of his own cash in the deal. He bought a piece of property that's been looking for an opportunity for 10 years that hadn't happened, and he's picked up the gauntlet. So I'm for doing, approving it with the subject that we would give him the money once we saw some concrete being poured.
Agreed.
Can I make one more comment, please? Said it didn't matter if you raised your interest rates under a little bit. That's not a problem. Don't do away with the Boots to Business program. You have a real advantage in this. This is not available other places. So, I work a 5-county area. This is the only place you can get a Boots to Business grant.
Well, with sales tax projections, this is still a 2-year payout, so I think it's a good deal.
I think we've got some concern about the program overall. I myself would like to see it more as a transitional program for people coming out of the military, maybe with a 3 to 5 year maximum out. But the fact is, this deal complies with everything that we have in the program as is. And I think it's a wonderful addition to the community. I do think we want to make the provision that there will be no other city tax abatements of any type extended. The movie theater would be absolutely tickled if you would lease some space for them to put a monument sign out there with their movies on it. That might be a revenue opportunity for you, and it's something that a lot of people would like to see. You can't find out what the movies are until you walk in the place. And the website doesn't help that much either.
I told Mr. Bill that earlier today, and I think he's amenable to that, because Gary and I worked a lot of hours trying to get the sign that the owner of the sign, which is Aaron's, will let us move it. Mm-hmm. And that was the cost of moving it. The first time was $6,500. And so, you know, that'd be an opportunity for him and the Heritage Square, everybody. So we just chatted before the meeting, and that's an opportunity.
Yeah. In no way is that a condition of approval.
No.
You need a modified motion
To what extent?
to the conditions.
Funding?
Yeah.
Funding to be determined.
Okay.
Yeah. God, I had another thought and I lost it. I don't know. Give us a modified motion, Gary.
Oh, God. Who made the original motion? Did somebody make a motion? Do we have a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, what was your original motion?
Pardon me?
What was your original motion?
As it reads.
Yeah, I just did the item 9. That's what I read. The approve and recommend City Council approve the Boots to Business grant to Golden Chicken franchise in the amount of $50,000.
Okay, subject.
We could amend it to say that it would not be funded until we see concrete being poured.
And no other city participation?
No other city rebates
or participation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Second. Voting from my left.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 10, discuss and take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve EDC budget amendment for 2019 fiscal year.
I make a motion we approve and recommend City Council approve EDC budget amendment for 2019 fiscal year.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could bother you for just a minute, I publicly want to thank Terry Bell for working with us through this Golden Chick project. We have been very blessed by him and Fred working with us and putting this thing together. He is a wonderful client. Came into our office, we talked about what we could do, and I didn't see him for 6 months, and the next time he had the property bought. So he's one of those kind of clients who goes and does his stuff. So thank you for working with us.
You're too easy. On the budget amendment, Mr. Peterson, what do we have here?
We simply have $50,000 dedicated to Rising Star Enterprises to fund this project.
And we have $100,000 in Boots to Business.
Yes, sir.
For the balance of the fiscal year. Why do we need to increase it?
We have to name Rising Star Enterprises.
Okay, but we don't need to increase it from 100 to 150, do we?
We need to take 50 out and dedicate it to Rising Star Enterprises.
All right, so then the revised budget should be Boots to Business 50,000, Golden Chick franchise 50,000, right? All right. Walter, would you make that note? On this revised budget, you've got Boots to Business at 150,000? Does it? Okay, then that's fine as is.
Take 50 out of that for, our enterprise, we'll have 150. So we have 100,000 in facades, and 200,000 in boots of business, and some for loan.
Right.
But the law says we have to specifically say where the money goes.
Yes. Any other discussion?
Yes. We need to also put this in our 2020 budget, correct?
No.
No? We're spending money this year or next year?
We'll spend it this year.
When
When do you start construction?
When do we start construction? I'm hoping, if the SBA approves next week, by Tuesday I should have trucks in. Everybody's waiting. The electric company, the water company, everybody paid for and waiting to do this once the SBA said yes. I had to wait for an appraisal.
Just asking the question because you're going to submit. Good point, counsel.
That formal bank approval, but you can't touch a stick on the property, that's why I didn't mow it. Because they said, don't move anything, don't touch anything until the SBA appraiser comes in.
Yeah.
So there was some hassle with that, and when we dealt with any of those folks, there's a hassle. I bought both those parcels of land, and I have them tied together as collateral for the project. Well, the SBA appraiser didn't like that. So he separated them, which lowered my amount to what I had to pay down and this, that, the other, and whatever. The good news is that that was going to tie me with, for 20 years, they were on that property, I couldn't do anything. Now I can put something else there, if we have plans for expanding for this community. We live here, we work here, our kids go to school right over here, grandkids go to school over here, so we're part of, we're
That's good.
deep in this community, and we're glad to grow with it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You bet. We have second public hearing on July 26. There was an ad in the paper that said we have a public hearing on July 26 at 6:30. I swear it said Gun Barrel City EDC.
That's city council.
Okay.
No, that's not city council.
Me too.
And City Council,
It is not.
City Council will approve it, and then depending on where he is, we can fund. All right, so you're 6 weeks out anyway.
So it's this year.
Good, okay. Just so you understand. All right. Voting to approve the budget amendment from my left, please.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 11, discuss and or take action to approve and recommend that City Council approve amending Tip Top Moving and Storage Performance Agreement to allow for more time to meet employment goal.
Mr. President, members of the board, we did a project a year ago right now for
We
Tip
don't
Top
have a
Moving.
motion yet.
Excuse me?
Do we have a motion?
I'm sorry.
I'll motion to approve or recommend that the city approve Tip Top Moving and Storage Performance Agreement to allow for more time to meet employment goal.
I'll second.
Second, discussion. Mr. Peterson.
Mr. President, members of the board, about a year ago we did a project with Mike Huskisson with Tip Top Moving and Storage. As you know, they moved into the building that we're now discussing another project for. As with almost every project we do, they did not meet their projections. And so their most important thing was cutting their costs in order to allow them to continue to operate. For about the past 3 months, they have been breaking even. Their job numbers, in my opinion, are about 3. They have 2 full-time people and 2 part-time people, which makes just almost 3 jobs.
What was their commitment?
4.
What was their commitment?
4.
4? Thank you.
Doesn't the owner make 4?
Excuse me, sir?
Does the owner make 4?
He doesn't count himself.
His son or stepson?
It's some member of the family, but there
Stepson.
are 2 of them that work full time, and there are 2 that work about 20 hours a week. I guess my feeling is I feel very comfortable in allowing Mike 2 more years to get to his 4 people. He has a variety of contracts that are coming down to him that will get him going like he originally figured to in the beginning, and I think it's just a matter of giving him a little more time to do that.
Who runs the
Paid
company?
off to
Excuse me,
Who runs the company?
Mike. So Tip Top is Tip Top. And underneath Tip Top is Tip Top Moving and Storage, and Tip Top Auto Repair was Tip Top Bowling Alley, but they sold that.
But he told us going in that he had a son-in-law, stepson, or something that had you.
Who was very involved in the moving industry.
Is he running this?
Yes, sir.
yes.
So he's the fourth employee.
He's one of the, no. He's one of the 2 full-time employees.
Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Mike
Okay.
has had 2 previous EDC loans that he's paid off perfectly.
Yeah.
So he's been a valued customer to us. He's trying to move back into Gun Barrel. He's got a backer that wants to build him a building. So, I mean, we need more Mike Hussikins.
I believe all he needs is some time. He also made his first payment a month early, by the way.
Wonderful.
Okay, so he's making payments now, correct? He is making payments now? Is my-
Payments will go every month from now on until it's paid off in 10 years.
Okay.
Voting from my left to approve.
Osborne, yes.
Hold it. What are we approving? 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Peters, you may want to note in your letter to City Council that 2 years. It doesn't give a time in there. Yeah. Item number 12, discuss and or take action to approve EDC staff delving deeper into the construction of a building for Company X. Do we have a motion?
I move that we discuss and/or take action to approve EDC staff delving deeper into the construction of a building for Company X.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Peterson.
Pretty much talked to everybody about this building. We have a national retailer who has 1,000 stores that is very desirous of having a facility in Gun Barrel City. If you would turn to the first email, well, I'm sorry we don't have the pages numbered, but looks kind of like this. It has an email up on top, and it's on the back of one of Walter's sheets, which drives me crazy. Joe, you've got it there. There's lots of discussion about this, whether or not this company wants to be here. I just want everybody to understand that, yes, they want to be here. They've been here 3 times to look at the community. They cannot find a facility that will suit them. They do not necessarily have to be in Gun Barrel City. They could do this in Kaufman. They could do it in Maybank. They could do it in Athens. So my opinion is the first place that comes up with a building that will fit them is where they'll go. We did not want to spend months putting this deal together and bring it to you and have you say, we're not interested in doing a building. And I've had a couple of board members tell me they're not interested. So all I'm asking for is, it looks to me like financially this thing will pay for itself for the first 5 years. The rent to the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation would be about $130,000 a year. I think that equates to about $10,000 a month. Walter? Almost 11. And our payments are somewhere around 10. Yeah. So with the scenario we have in front of you, for the first 5 years, the building would pay for itself. And that includes a $750,000 zero-interest loan from the Texas Capital Corporation and $1,050,000 from a bank. And in all honesty, we have not worked on the bank interest. We have interest now at 5.5. I'm very comfortable we can get a much less interest loan than that. We now have the entire blueprint package for this building. They sent that to me last week. So it is not going to be difficult for us to go and find builders who will give us a bid on building this facility. If I believe that you are interested in us moving ahead, I think we still have to go to the council and make sure that they are willing to do this as well. This is a completely different thing than Gun Barrel City has ever done. We're talking about going in debt $1,800,000. And before we spend, we're going to spend 6 months putting this financial package together with the Texas Capital Fund, getting bids from a variety of companies to build the building, getting the company to come down and tell us where they would be happy for the building to be located. And so there's a tremendous amount of work to do, and if the answer today is no, we can stop all that.
Help me understand something, please. We're going to own this building.
We will own the building.
We will lease it to them, 5-year guarantee.
5-year guarantee.
And initial discussion.
Initial
with the
5.
company was they were only willing to commit to 2.
No. They will commit to 5.
They will commit to
They'll
5.
commit to 5 years. And they will also commit to a second 5 years if the market has in fact done what they expect it will do. The danger is, and a reason that investor builders won't build, is because they may walk off in 5 years. In 5 years, we'll have Elder Dodge paid for. Something will have happened to Big Chief, whether we sell it or put a facility there, or something is going to happen to Big Chief in the next 5. And so our financial commitments would be easier to handle at the end of the 5-year time frame. And all I'm looking for, I'm not asking you to say, you bet, if you put it together, we'll build a building. I'm asking you, if we go to all the work to do this, and it comes out that in fact we can do this building at almost, at least at this point, at no cost to the EDC. Because the loan from the Texas Capital Fund, the loan from the bank will both be paid back by the $130,000 revenue we get from the company.
Last meeting, you said the Texas Capital Fund was a grant?
No.
Now it's a loan.
No, it's a loan. It's always been a loan.
You said grant.
If I said grant, I apologize. It's always been a loan.
They want a triple net lease, correct?
Here's what they want. They want their operation cost to cover the following items: rent of the building, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. The total amount is $160,000.
Fixed for 5 years? Fixed for 5 years?
Well, so the information I have, Mr. Taylor, is that they will pay $160,000 or less. It is my belief, if we put this together, they will pay us $160,000 for 5 years. They'll pay $20,000 in taxes to the school and the county, about $5,000 for insurance, and we have put about $5,000 in for maintenance. So we have $30,000 in costs, and we end up with $130,000.
But we, as the property owner, pay the taxes.
Well, yeah, we pay it out of the $160,000, correct.
501.016 or something, paragraph 2B, forbids us paying taxes.
Yeah, I don't know that. I have tried to get us out of paying taxes.
We cannot do a triple net lease.
So about the taxes thing, I spoke to the appraiser, the county appraisal, I believe it was, and the attorney. When you start dealing with uses that are not public, then it becomes irrelevant what entity you are. Hospitals have been hit with taxes over something they had. It negates that we're a public nonprofit entity.
Yeah. Well, we cannot pay taxes.
We'll work that out.
I mean, that is perfectly clear. It couldn't be more clear in that statement. Buildings, don't care what it is. We cannot pay taxes.
Yeah, we'll run that by the attorney.
You mentioned last meeting you had some experience in retail commercial space management.
No. I've seen people do it. I have not done it.
You've not done it?
I have not done it.
Does anyone here have any experience? And keep in mind, this company closed 46 stores last year and opened 24. They are not afraid to run.
If the market's not here, I have no question they will.
They will. They'll cut and run if it's not good. And then we're sitting on a 16,000 square foot building with the payments that go with it.
Which I think would be great, because one of the things we do not have in Gun Barrel City is places for people to go.
That's the biggest problem that we have. We can invite people in here all day to look at the city and tell them we don't have a place to put you.
You're absolutely
What we really need is a commercial developer to come in and do 100 to 200,000 square feet of store space in a nice center, and it would certainly enhance our ability to do something, but there's been nothing done in that direction that I know of.
No. We have the people out on 198 across from W House we'll talk about later in the program, but it's not the kind of development you're talking about.
This is Kyle Henley's quote on the building?
No, the $2 million was Kyle's quote. We took $200,000, $250,000 out of that because we did not understand how the concrete went until we went and saw the real building.
Yeah. How much land valuation is there in that $2 million?
Very little, almost free.
Well, how is it?
It's on his land.
So you're saying land?
On their land.
You're saying land is not figured in there?
Land's in there, but they are wanting to do more retail development on their property, and so they're willing to do this project for very little land investment.
They had previously...
The question I have is I'm not sure this company will want to go on that land.
Yeah, they've expressed an interest in 198 North.
North, correct.
And that's why I had Doug Henry, or
Right.
Knapp, looking at expanding, and he was willing to, but we couldn't hit the park.
I think I've talked to Chris several times about right below Lowe's, and they seem to be fairly happy with that as well.
So all you're looking from us right now is, for lack of a better term, the authorization to keep looking into it?
What I want to know is if we go out and do all the work it takes to put this thing together, and we can fund this thing at no cost to the EDC, and we can pay the taxes, are you willing to look at it honestly about building the building? That's what I'm looking for. In my discussions with this, I've had a couple of you say, I don't have any interest in buildings. I don't want to own buildings. I don't want to be involved in buildings. So that's the reason I'm here. If that's the answer, then we don't want to go any farther. Because this is a ton of time and work. 65 to 90,000 sales tax, depending on their sales. 40 jobs. 7 of those full-time. So that's the deal. And what it takes to get that done is a building.
Yeah, my view on this is that the building of a building this size gives us something that we don't have, and that's a building that size. If we build it correctly so that it's subdividable, then suddenly we wind up with 2 buildings that may be
Or
useful
4.
to us. Or more, or, you know.
But you have a picture of the exact building that we will build.
I mean, we've got nothing to lose by looking at it. You agree with this?
No.
You don't agree?
Any other discussion?
No.
What?
Voting from my left.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, no.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 13, discuss and or take action to remove Jimmy Nicholson from the list of check signers.
I move we take action to remove Jimmy Nicholson from the list of check signers.
I'll second.
I don't think we can. You can't remove a signer. You just have to do new signature cards for the new signers.
Correct.
Yeah, basically, when we redo the signature cards, he would come off because he's
Yeah.
not on.
He's just not on the new.
He's not on the board anymore.
Turn it on. We can't hear you.
When I went there with Mr. Gaddis, we saw a list of who were listed as check signers on their thing. I asked her what we could do to get him off. I mentioned that he no longer was with us. They said it didn't really matter. It was going to require something formal, legal, like in minutes, plus everyone else on their signature to approve it. So that's why I'm putting it on. It's a kind of a legal, yes, we're authorizing to take him off.
So before, we approved the additions, but we didn't approve the removal, so they need something to remove.
No, they need for their records, in order to have done it, because we've done this before, when somebody's been dropped off, because they have to have it in the minutes, and they have a copy of the minutes, so they can put that in their record.
Yeah.
So when they redo the cards,
Yep, okay.
In my past experience on nonprofit boards, what the banks typically require is a copy of the minutes signed by the officers, as well as a letter signed by the board members, or at least 2 board members, stating the same on the letterhead.
Yeah, this bank's only going to require the minutes to do it. So.
Okay. Voting from my right, left, please.
Osborne, yes.
Butler, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Gaddis, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 4, discuss update on Big Chief repairs. Just a discussion.
Keep this in front of you all so we know that we're moving in the right direction. We have hired Double C Docks to do the repairs on Big Chief. We thought it was going to be like 90 days before they could get started. Chris was in the office today. He's finished up some stuff more rapidly than he thought, and so they're going to be able to start in the next 2 weeks. We have given them 30 days to do it. That's longer than they need, but I don't want anybody pushing in any direction. So this work should start in the next couple of weeks, and it should be done in 30 days.
Okay, no vote required there.
No, sir, and we'll keep you updated on that as it goes along.
What about the sign that was supposed to go up there?
Yeah, it's still not there. That's my fault.
You have a firm grasp of the obvious.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It always ends up being number 2. I promise you I'll get it up.
There you go. Item number 15, discuss finding from associates' attendance at conferences. Mr. Baker.
Okay, so I attended back-to-back conferences a couple weeks ago. Here's just a brief summary with bullet points of some of the things that I thought was interesting. One of the first things we did was we were scattered among different committee meetings, starting with the TEDC. That was the first conference in Rockwall. And we talked about, what we could do. I've heard some talk about how we have a Facebook or whatever. We might want to increase the social media down the road. So I asked a few questions there. Some basic stuff, keep it positive, look for another community to model off of. One thing they said was for professional spaces, LinkedIn has become more popular than Facebook. I thought I'd noticed that myself, but they went ahead and confirmed that. You want to talk a lot about market amenities, which kind of surprised me a little bit, but I think works well into our wheelhouse. For example, for us, you would talk a lot about the lake, different activities you can do here, basic stuff. Might be more sensible to outsource. So this wasn't directly recommended to me, but there was one developer up in North Texas who mentioned frequently they had a small staff, bigger town than us, but still not very large. They basically found some guy, I don't know, high school, I think, actually, give him basically an internship type deal, and he just handled 4 or 5 different social media platforms for them. I forget if he was paid or not, but it was next to nothing, at least, if he was paid. So that was something I put down as something to kind of think about. If we do want to have a sustained social media presence in the future, there's some things we can do on the staff, but that's an option as well. Another thing I thought was very interesting is remote workers. Mr. Peterson and I have discussed some of this, looking at that down the road. New technology has come around. A substantial number of people already do some remote work, about half. There's a percentage, I want to say it was around something like 20% that did all of it, or in certain cities do all of it at least. So it's growing more common. Some places have even begun to incentivize it. We're used to the idea of, incentivize a company, incentivize, this, that, or the other. Some places are just incentivizing someone to come live there while they work somewhere else. The whole state of Vermont, Tulsa, Oklahoma, these are programs that have gotten more attention. One potential issue for us is, rural areas, smaller towns, signal's not always great. You need a certain amount of quality. You can't have it cutting out. So one thing to look at would be the Rural Broadband Initiative. There's some effort at Congress and state level to get that up to speed. We can look at that. I believe Mr. Peterson may have reached out to some of our local utilities as well to see what they can do to beef it up. And this wasn't mentioned at this session, but it came up later. So there's a little town out in, I think, West Texas or the Panhandle. I'd never heard of it before, Canadian Texas. They sent out an RFP for a broadband company. They literally went out and recruited someone to do broadband, high-speed internet for them, and they got it. I don't believe they had to really, I think there might have been some incentives like along the lines of some land or something, but the cost was trivial for them. So that's something to consider. Not so much that we ought to literally do that, but just an interesting thing, kind of look outside the box as to how to achieve it. Retail upskilling. So this is something we've talked a lot about, looking at retail workers, what kind of training can we do for them. So about 10.4% of Dallas County employment is retail. There's a skills gap between what a lot of them can do, what a lot of employers would like for them to be able to do. So there was a partnership between the community college, workforce board, various companies. They kind of put that together. It mostly went pretty well. One thing I found interesting when I asked them about specific forms of pushback that they received was they had one place, I believe it was a grocery store chain, I cannot recall which, they had someone, one of the managers, and she said to them, and I quote, you know, I really like the idea and all, but I'm worried if they go through it, they'll get paid more. We'll have to pay them more. That's something we'll have to consider how to assuage their concerns of, hey, if we do this, you know, they'll be more valuable. Maybe you have to pay them more, but they'll make more. So that's something we'll have to think about as we market it. Moving on to the Texas Rural Challenge, one very interesting seminar related to the remote workers was telemedicine. You know, we've discussed, you know, what are our healthcare options in Gun City and along the lake. You know, it's an older community, a lot of retired folks. They need a bunch of different doctors and such. That's getting harder and harder in rural areas. There are towns 3-4 times the size of Gun City where you can't even get a baby delivered at the hospital anymore. That's just not easy. So they're losing stuff. But there are some things that their communities are looking at to do that. You know, you can do telemedicine. You know, technology is allowing, similar to the remote workers, for you to do your basic doctor visit and other things at a distance. Now, he can't do surgery or anything yet, but he can tell you what it looks like. He might be able to get a screen going for data points. He can direct someone else to do it. So if you can imagine, I believe my stepfather goes to a doctor now and again, that the guy only comes here like once a week or whatever, so he has to make sure to schedule it on that one day. Well, instead of that, they just have the normal nurse practitioner or whatever, and then he comes on a screen, looks at him, okay, you're good, next. So that'll be nice. Related thing I also found interesting, obviously you're going to need quality broadband, same as the remote workers. But one thing I found interesting, some communities are actually finding ways to incentivize medical students within their own communities. You know, you look at some of your best and brightest, you know, folks want to be doctors and stuff. Well, how do we get you to stay? You know, there are some communities I think we're looking at, you know, for a certain amount of time we'll help cover student loan, or we'll, you know, help you with the, you know, related expenses while you're in college, this and that, if you're willing to come back to the community for a certain amount of time. Again, just a kind of an outside-the-box idea that I thought worth sharing. Lastly, some miscellaneous things. So I'll start with SBDC, since we had Mr. Ellsbury here. There was quite a large SBDC presence there, including I actually ran into an old classmate of mine from my undergrad who works with the SBDC. So I got to pick her brain and others there quite a bit about what they have access to them. So I have a better sense of what data Mr. Ellsbury has and everything, and that was, I thought, very fascinating. Another thing, and which Ms. Butler there actually mentioned to me later, so there's a Mr. Chet Garner who served as the MC of the event. He came up, spoke, said the thing, introduced people. Mr. Garner had an Emmy, I believe it was Emmy winning. He's won something like 8 Emmys for this PBS show called The Day Tripper. So it started out back in 2009, and he was in the Austin area. He may still live there. And he would travel out to different towns, check them out, go eat their huge steak or go do their kayaking, whatever. Just nice little PBS show. He's been running it for, I think they're on 10 seasons now. He's been to a number of communities. Ms. Butler mentioned the idea of maybe try to get him here. I haven't been able to dedicate much research to that at the moment. I can tell the closest he's been is Athens. I haven't seen the episode from Athens as to whether or not it was just Athens or if he got into Henderson County. But that might be something to look into in the future. I don't believe there's much money in it from what he said, so I don't believe it would be expensive if we got him out here. But it would be something we could consider as a kind of little marketing thing, something to talk about on the website and so on and so forth if we had him and a little TV crew going around and stuff. So interesting thought and something to keep in mind down the road if we're interested. Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Was there anything specifically about targeting businesses for the community to come in?
Say that again, sorry.
Keeping in mind that our whole basic premise here is we want to increase sales tax and employment, were there any sessions that dealt directly with how to attract business?
Well, there were different topics about different strategies and the like. A lot of it to do with, again, technology. You know, what is that changing for things? There were a couple of talks about workforce development, not just the one I mentioned with retail upskilling, but that was a big part of that. And that goes towards, you know, recruiting businesses. Workforce has become kind of the watchword. I remember when I was in my graduate program, we talked about, 20, 30 years ago, they would talk about, well, I'm going to give you the land for free. As technology has made work more complicated, advanced manufacturing, and even advanced, more advanced in retail, it's nice to be able to give the incentives, but they really care a lot about the workforce. Who are we going to be hiring? Can we get enough? Can we get that many? So I believe that does directly relate in that sense. There was some broader talk about some strategies with industrial recruitment and such, but just the basics on that. I don't believe there was a targeted session for retail attraction. There was one about smaller towns, but that wound up overlapping with remote workers, the retail, telemedicine, and a couple others. As a matter of fact, the Canadian Texas RFP for a broadband company, I got that out of the rural Texas one. So there were a lot of different things. As far as a targeted for retail, that would be primarily with the retail upskilling.
Okay. You're still with us? I trust you had your 90-day review?
I'm still here. We are going to do that evaluation later this week, probably Friday or something.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 16, discuss the Oaks of 198. Mr. Peterson.
I really don't have any discussion. I know we talk about that often. I still don't have a date, but that is out in the world. What you see is on the backside is their pre-leasing space, and it gives you some kind of an idea of what the facility will look like.
Wonderful. 6,000 square feet initially?
2 of them, I think.
2 of those?
I think they're going to have 2 6,000 square feet spaces is what I understand.
Wonderful. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
It's done. Adjourned at 6:44 p.m.
Walter, nice job.
Thank you, Walter.